All right, guys. So, at the request of our premium subscribers, we're trying something a little bit new. So, as you know, typically we do our monologues and then we engage in a back and forth. And that back and forth is actually the only part of our content that we paywall and is exclusively for our premium subscribers. Sometimes those exchanges and those debates are particularly noteworthy or heated or interesting or whatever. And so what we're going to start doing is every week picking one of those and posting them a couple days later. So still premium subscribers get the jump on it, get to see it first, but then the whole wide world gets access to it a couple days later.
That's right. So this is what this week's discussion looks like. And going forward, you guys can enjoy it. Let's take a listen. I cannot stand this ideology conversation in California in particular. You know, they have phased out all these natural gas-fired plants and they're like, we need these Chinese-made, so we don't care where it comes from. They're like, we need this solar power. They have no ability to back up their grid. And so now they have to try and delay the closing of the nuclear power plant. But we all know what's going to happen. The limited number of natural gas is going to have to flex the grid in the middle of a hot-ass summer, and everybody's going to have to pay sky-high rates.
Yeah.
And same in Texas. That's the thing.
There's a lot going on here. I mean, this is one where there really is actually no partisan divide. There are Democrats and Republicans on both sides of this issue in terms of trying to waive the tariffs.
Everybody wants it because it's big business.
Right, and ultimately, I mean, what does that do? Like, you're solving this sort of immediate problem of we've got these goals and these milestones that we have to ultimately hit, but you're precluding the ability of an organic U.S. manufacturing capacity to arise because, I mean, what China's being accused of is basically dumping subsidized cheap
transshipping.
Cheap products on the market, and so that makes it so that, you know, American manufacturers aren't able to compete. You also have then the fact that, you know, the Biden administration, for all their flaws, they did have a large climate change investment package that they wanted to push forward, which was stopped basically by Joe Manchin, but also by every single Republican. So the idea, like, they obviously don't care about the issue in terms of climate whatsoever. And then, you've totally persuaded me on nuclear. The one thing I would say is that I do think it's more justified than you give it credit for, the concern of the American people about safety, after I've learned more about 3 Mile Island and how the company was in bed with the nuclear regulators, and there was a complete cover-up of just how dangerous a situation there was. There were all kinds of shortcuts taken with regards to safety that could have very easily led to, like, a nuclear meltdown that would have impacted the entire East Coast. So I don't want to just hand-wave away those concerns because it was an extremely dangerous situation. People were lied to. They didn't want to evacuate them, even though it was, like, very, very necessary to evacuate them. They were lied to. There was a cover-up of government corruption, revolving door, all of that stuff. So I just want to put that on there.
I hear you, but that doesn't mean that we need a bunch of solar power or wind power in order to back up this grid. And, you know, the answer to that is actually simple.
Well, I think your point that, I mean, these things work in complement, right? You can have the solar and the wind, but you have to have something that is going to be a stable generation source. Right now, that's natural gas. That's not good for the environment. Nuclear is better. But I'm just saying that, listen, I think that the concerns about safety are not illegitimate, given that you had this. I mean, it was ultimately an issue of capitalism. The company wanted to make money. There was total regulatory capture, and so they lied and put lives significantly at risk to try to protect their bottom line.
I think it should be safe as hell and should have a ton of regulatory scrutiny. If it were up to me, I don't think these people should be allowed to make profit, period, especially if the state is going to build. I mean, if the state's going to finance the construction of all of these plants, then we should just own and operate them. They should be owned by California State Power or whatever. Now, I know there's all sorts of problems that could be accompanied with that, but that seems probably, at least from my perspective, given the way that some commercially nuclear plants have not invested in the technology that they need, again, because of profit maximization, then this is a technology which requires a significant upfront investment and is going to require state backing. So look, that's going to be attendant also with us needing to guarantee the safety environment on these things. So I totally get it, but I do think that we could move forward. And all I know is that making people have pay more for power, and that's also now going to cause blackouts, is crazy. Especially whenever this investigation is almost certain to show that China is transshipping and moving around our tariffs. And I think that's completely outrageous. I believe in an electric future, in an electric car future, and making sure that we have cheap, abundant, natural power for everybody out there that is not impacted by the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I just want to see us actually get there, so. There you go.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.